Late summer, 479 BCE. Two armies are staring at each other across a plain in Boeotia, and neither one can afford to make the first move. On one side, the largest Persian force still left in Greece, tens of thousands of infantry, cavalry, and archers, backed by Greek city-states still loyal to the empire. On the other, the largest coalition Greece has ever put into the field, Spartans, Athenians, Tegeans, Corinthians, Megarians, all standing shoulder to shoulder for the first time in the war. If this army breaks, there is no second coalition waiting behind it. This is the last line. And that's exactly what makes the next 11 days so strange. Because this isn't a battle that starts with a charge. It starts with a siege that never touches a wall, a slow, grinding standoff where the real weapon isn't a spear, it's exhaustion. The Greek commanders, Pausanias of Sparta and Aristides of Athens, have chosen high ground on purpose. It protects them from the one thing they can't answer: Persian cavalry, which owns the open plain below. But high ground has a price. The roads leading to their water source and their supply lines run straight through territory the cavalry can reach whenever it wants. And day by day, that's exactly what starts happening. Small groups of horsemen appear on the roads. Not in one great assault, in constant, scattered pressure. A supply convoy moving through the mountain passes gets caught before it ever reaches camp. Messengers stop arriving. Foraging parties stop coming back. It's not dramatic, it's just relentless. And slowly, the Greek position stops being a stronghold and starts being a trap that hasn't sprung yet. There is one moment of open confrontation early on. A Persian cavalry officer named Mecistius pushes his horse too close to the Greek line, gets thrown when his mount is struck, and is brought down by the soldiers around him before he can escape. For a few hours, it feels like a turning point, proof that Persian cavalry isn't invincible. The Greek line celebrates. But from the Persian camp, the response is telling. Almost nothing changes tactically. One officer lost doesn't fix the water problem. It doesn't open the roads. The pressure keeps building. Eventually it reaches the spring the Greeks depend on for water. Persian horsemen simply occupy it, riding through it, fouling it, making it unusable. And that's the moment the standoff stops being sustainable. There's no dramatic defeat here, no single crushing blow. The army is being strangled slowly, and everyone on that ridge can feel it. So the Greek commanders make a decision that sounds simple on paper and is almost catastrophic in practice. Move the entire army, at night, to better ground near Plataea itself, closer to water, easier to defend. It's not a retreat, it's a repositioning. But try explaining that to tens of thousands of exhausted men from a dozen different city-states, marching in the dark, with no shared chain of command and no way to see more than a few feet in front of them. This is where the story almost falls apart entirely, and it's the part most retellings skip past. The center of the army starts moving first, and instead of stopping at the agreed position, it keeps going, past the regroup point, past the fallback line, all the way toward the town itself. Messengers sent to correct the mistake can't find the column in the dark. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, the center of the Greek line has effectively vanished from contact with both wings. On the left, the Athenians are stuck waiting on orders that arrive late or contradict each other. Officers are arguing in the road, while soldiers stand in formation, not knowing whether to march or hold. And on the right, the Spartan side, the anchor of the entire alliance, the withdrawal freezes completely. Because one Spartan officer, Amampharatus, simply refuses to move. He doesn't see retreat, even a tactical one, as something Spartans do in the presence of the enemy. Pausanias argues with him directly. The clock keeps running. Behind them, the rest of the army is already dissolving into the darkness. And here is the man meant to anchor the most disciplined force in Greece, refusing to budge, while the coalition around him quietly comes apart. Only at the very last possible moment, arguably too late, does he finally give in and follow. By the hour before dawn, there is no single Greek army left to speak of. There's a center that overshot its position, a left wing stalled by confusion, and a right wing that nearly tore itself apart over one man's principle. From the Persian side, watching this unfold at first light, it doesn't look like a repositioning at all. It looks like collapse, and that reading of events is about to decide the entire battle. Persian scouts report the ridge is empty. Mardonius rides out to see it himself, and what he sees seems to confirm everything. A Greek line broken into disconnected pieces, moving in different directions, with no visible coordination. His own religious advisors have been warning against a direct attack for days. The omens, they say, favor defense, not pursuit. But the picture in front of him is too tempting to ignore. He gives the order to advance. Persian cavalry moves first, racing to catch the Spartan column before it can reform. Behind them, the infantry follows, thousands of men crossing open ground at speed, convinced they are finishing off a broken enemy. What they're actually running into is two separate, isolated fights that neither Greek wing can see the other one happening. On the right, Spartans and their allies absorb the full weight of the Persian advance almost entirely alone, taking sustained pressure from archers while their own commander delays the order to engage, waiting, by his own account, for the right religious signs before committing his men. It's an agonizing, exposed wait, under fire, with no guarantee reinforcement is coming. On the left, the Athenians never even reach the Spartans. A force of pro-Persian Greek infantry moves to block the crossing, and suddenly two Greek armies that arrived as one alliance are fighting completely separate battles, miles apart, each one unaware of how the other is holding. The turning point on the Spartan side comes only when the signs finally shift and the order to advance is given. What follows isn't a wild charge. It's a controlled wall of shields and spears grinding forward into the Persian line at close range, absorbing arrow fire until the two forces are too close for archers to matter anymore. The fighting that follows is brutal, dense, and disorienting, dust-reducing visibility to almost nothing. And then, somewhere in the chaos, the Persian commander directing the battle in person is struck down. It's a single moment, but it spreads through the Persian ranks almost instantly. Officers start giving conflicting orders. Formations lose their shape, and a line that had been advancing with confidence starts folding in on itself. On the other side of the field, the same thing happens to the Theban-led force pinning the Athenians. Resistance holds for a long time, then breaks, section by section, until the retreat becomes general. Both Greek wings end up pushing forward at nearly the same moment, and only then does the outcome of the entire 11-day standoff finally resolve. The surviving Persian forces fall back to their fortified camp, and what follows there is less a battle than a collapse, a defensive position that briefly holds, then gives way when the barricades are breached from two directions at once, turning the enclosure into chaos with nowhere left for the defenders to go. By the end of that single day, the largest Persian army left on Greek soil has ceased to exist as a fighting force, and with it goes any realistic chance of a full Persian conquest of the Greek mainland. What's easy to forget, looking back at Plataea as a clean, decisive victory, is how close it came to never happening that way at all. Not because the Greeks lost a fight, but because one night, one argument, and one stubborn officer nearly unraveled the entire alliance before a single decisive blow was struck. The margin between total collapse and lasting victory wasn't tactics. It was whether a night march in the dark held together long enough to see morning. If you want to see how empires like Persia rebuilt after defeats like this one, or what happened to the alliance that won here, that story is waiting in the next video.